Hey everyone, welcome back to Lamps and Family Farms. My name is Max, and in this video we'll be talking about my chicken coop build that I've been working on in the barn for about the last month.
So I'm gonna get started on prepping myself so I can move some of the scrap wood, well, all of the scrap wood needs to come out of there, out into this main part of the barn, and then I'll figure out what to do with the scrap wood later, but I need to get going on this chicken coop area. But what I need to do first is this hay pile is, let's see, that hay pile is blocking where I need to take the wood out. So I just need to move that stack. It shouldn't take me too long. So I'm gonna put you guys on a time lapse while I get all of this moved out, and then I'm gonna start. I haven't decided. I'm gonna take a look when I get over there if I'm going to decide what I'm doing with each piece of wood and then move things appropriately, or if I'm just going to move the whole pile out here so I can get going on the chicken coop. I really don't know yet. Well, I know what I should do. I should just move it all out here because I am a little crunched for time now, because we're probably going to have a calf here any day now. And the temperatures are getting warmer more quickly than I thought, so I need to get the chickens out of here, and that takes more of a priority than me sorting what scrap wood I want. So I do know that, but I want to just figure out what I want to do with the wood right now. But I know that's not probably the best plan. So I'm going to move this and then get going on moving that wood out. So I'm going to put you guys on a time lapse.
So I said earlier that I've been working on this for the last month. Well, it turns out this video was taken on March 15th, so I've actually been working on this chicken coop for about a month and a half to 2 months. The calf was born 2 days after this video. So I did get rather busy and behind, but it's funny looking back on videos that I've recorded 2 months ago to see how much has actually changed. And a lot has changed since I did all this. All this hay has now been eaten, and we just actually brought our first load of hay for this year today.
Okay, so I got the pile of hay moved. Let's see, I put half of it here, and then half of it I put down on the first floor of the barn so I can use that up. I also got the floor swept, not so much because I am a neat freak and want that swept, but I'm going to end up using all this chaff hay for bedding in the coop anyway. So I wanted it moved because I'm going to pile wood here. And so nice clean floor to set the wood on, and then I don't have to sweep around it when I'm trying to get this chaff hay. So just got that swept anyway. So I'm going to get going on working on cleaning this up. So it's mostly this big pile. I just have a couple of pieces laying in the back. We're gonna need to move our punch bag, and then I'm probably gonna take that wall down and then clean up a couple boards over there. So once I get this scrap wood pile moved, I'm gonna give everything a good sweeping in there. I'm gonna lay down plastic on the floor, and then I'll put the bedding on top, just in case we ever don't want it to be a coop anymore. I won't be ruining the floorboards. We'll just pull up the plastic and then we should be okay. And then I need to do a hardware cloth wall on this side and figure out, I think I'm actually gonna have to make doors for this. The current chicken coop in here, I actually got lucky and those doors were already made. I just had to make the frame around them. So I didn't really have to do anything for that. This time I'll have to make some doors. I'm not really worried about it, should be fine. But I will need to decide where I want those doors. I'll go over it with you later. But where I would most likely want them is in this middle area, and there's this beam, which makes it really awkward right there. So I gotta move some boards though first. I hate giving timelines on things now because things always take longer than I think that they should, but just gonna get going. All right, here we go. I'm gonna put you guys on another time lapse.
It feels so nice having this space clean and usable. For the first couple years, it's just been scrap wood piles, and it's nice to actually go through things and figure out what we're keeping and get things how we want them upstairs in the barn. Just feels like such a more functional space for us. This is my view as I work on the chicken coop space. I look out the two windows in there and all I see is the cows out laying and chewing their cud. Julie and I have talked a lot about what we want this space to be, especially now that we'll have two poultry areas upstairs in the barn. We really would like to try meat turkeys. We've done meat chickens in the past, and honestly, we don't really love doing meat chickens. They're just kind of gross. Um, the Cornish cross has a very large die-off rate. We're really wanting to try turkey. We do both enjoy turkey, and we could keep a handful of turkeys here and get about the same poundage as we would for meat chickens, and I think it would just be a lot cleaner. So we would like to try that at some point.
Okay, so I got the floor all swept, and what I'm gonna do next is go get some of the plastic sheeting and start putting that on the floors and stapling it down. I do think, I'm tempted to also, once I have the plastic sheeting down, put some boards over top and screw those down, just so the plastic sheeting doesn't move around that much. I will say I haven't had too many issues with the plastic moving in the other poultry coop. So I'm curious to see if just finding places to staple it down will be enough, or if I really do need the boards. But I'm gonna get going on that. I got everything nice and swept, feeling good about how clean it is in there. So I need to do that, and I'm hoping I have enough plastic to finish it all. Oh, I did forget to mention though, before I put the plastic down, there's a couple spots you can see the plywood right there. There's kind of a couple like squishy spots in the plywood because there are a couple places in this roof that it leaks. And so just over time, the plywood has deteriorated. So I've been putting plywood over top of that just to reinforce the floor, because no, you don't want to be up here and fall through the floor. So that would be very bad. So I'm just going to be putting some plywood over top of that just to prevent anything bad from happening. So I'm going to do that, and then I'm going to go get the sheeting and start stapling that down. But we're moving along.
I feel like people are going to ask, and I think I should just address it now. The wasp nest that you see in this video is not real. It's just like a little lantern. And the idea is that wasps will not make nests in places where there already is one. So the idea is that that fake nest will intimidate the other wasps, and so they won't build a wasp nest up there. It worked pretty well, but we did get one wasp nest up there last year.
Okay, so making very good progress. I just finished putting the plastic down in there. So I had plenty of plastic, and I still have some left actually, so I'm very excited about that. I was hoping that I was going to have enough because I didn't want to have to go buy any. And when we moved here, I was not super thrilled about all the plastic that was left here. It has really come in handy, so I am now very appreciative of that. So I had enough plastic to do all of that, and so what I'm going to be doing now is putting down some hay. So I've got all this chaff hay up here from just having stored hay up here for the last year. So I'm going to, I've got some hardware cloth there stacked up. I'm going to move that. I'm actually going to be using that for the wall on this wall here for the chicken coop. So that's actually going to be repurposed for that project. Most of this hardware cloth came, I think it was either stacked up when we got here, or I pulled it off of the buckwheat rooms that I've been taking down. So I'm just going to move those and then work on cleaning up, sweeping, and getting some of this chaff over into the poultry area.
It feels really good to reflect on how we use this area each year. Last year we had hay stacked here, and now I'm cleaning it up and getting it ready for the next year. It makes me think about how many years this barn has seen people do that. There's an inscription in this section of the barn that is from 1856. It just makes me happy that I could be a part of this history.
Okay, so I've got all of the middle of the barn swept and scooped with all the chaff hay that I'm going to be using in here. And as you can see, it was just, a drop in the bucket. So I'll probably be using some of the pig quality hay for the rest of the bedding. And I'm not going to worry about that right now, but what I'm going to focus on is the doors back there. So there I have two. So that's just a basketball net that's mounted from the outside of the barn. But then I've got the one behind me over there. So I'm going to work on framing those in with the hardware cloth. And what I think I'm going to do for the framing, although I need to go and measure, I think I'm going to make a wood frame that fits the inside with a little bit of a little short, so a little bit of leeway around that. So then I can take that frame, put the hardware cloth over it, wrap it around the side and staple it to the sides, and then put the whole thing in the window space, or the opening, and then frame that around the outside. So I think that's how I'm going to do it. I think that will be more secure and look better than just taking hardware cloth and stapling it to the front of these windows and then framing around that. I think it would look okay. I don't think that would look super great, and I think it would be sturdier if I did secure the hardware cloth around a frame first and then put the frame in the window. So I think that's what I'm going to do. So I'm just going to get going on that. So one thing that I need to be cognizant of when I'm framing these windows is that I still need to leave myself a gap at the top so that I can open these windows in the summer. And so what I think I'm going to do is, you can see this one already has the loop with the string. I'm going to move that up to the very top and probably leave myself a couple of, maybe an 2 or 3 inch gap at the top of the hardware cloth. So I'll have just a little slit at the top where I can reach through and grab the rope and still open the door. I think that will be plenty of space that, no predator birds can come in, chickens can't fly out. I think that will still be enough space for me to grab the string and open it up. Okay, so I just finished the first window, and lessons were learned. So I thought I had given myself enough of a buffer to put the frame into the windowsill. We'll just call it a windowsill. But because the windowsill wasn't square, and I'm sure that my frame wasn't quite square, it didn't fit. It was very close, but I think I was probably a 1/4 of an inch off. So I put it in the other window, which is a little bit bigger than the one I had measured. So let me flip you around. So you can see it's framed in, but I did have to put a little bit of a shim on the left side, which I don't love, but it'll do. So you can see a little bit better. You can see where the light comes through right there. The shim stops right there. So I just put a little shim. It was about an inch. And it fit pretty well. So I am going to redo the first window and give myself probably 3/4 of an inch extra so that I know it will fit. I'll probably have to do a shim on that one too, but it will be fine. It's not the end of the world. So what I did first was I screwed it to this side, and then that lifted it up off the floor a little bit. So there's probably about an inch gap on this side, but no gap on this side. So it's fitting square in the windowsill, but it's an old barn, things aren't quite square. So it'll work. I'm not going to mess with it at this point because I want to see how I end up using it for this year, because in the winter I'm planning on either plasticking over, because the door will shut and then we'll have the screen still. but I'm probably going to plastic over the whole thing. I don't have, actually, now that I'm saying it, I might have windows for this. I have 2 big windows in storage that I wasn't sure what they were for. I wonder if they're actually for this. So I'll have to measure. But in any case, if those windows do fit, I'll have to take the screen out and put the window in. So I don't want to frame this in too much if I'm just going to have to undo it twice a year. So I'm just going to leave that for now, and then I'll fuss with it later. But I'm going to remeasure this space and do the second one. And I'm going to put you guys on a time lapse for this next one. So as I was framing in this window too, I remembered something that I hadn't considered before. So I was just going to frame in with hardware cloth the bottom and the top for each section. So you can see it there, the bottom and then the top. But I had remembered that when I had the chickens in the like the garage space the previous 2 years, I had a heck of a time with dust and debris coming onto the garage side from the chicken side because they would kick it through the barrier. And so now I'm realizing that if I do hardware cloth straight to the ground, they're just going to be kicking crap and, well, excuse my language, but crap and bedding and all sorts of stuff into this walkway, and I'm just going to have to constantly sweep, which I don't want to do. So I'm thinking actually now I will either board up the bottom and just do hardware cloth from here to the top on all the sections, so each one has its own. So like I could do board here and then hardware cloth here, and that would help keep the bedding in the chicken area. And I could either do boards or I could, I'd have to think about how it would look. I do have those metal roofing sheets available. I could do that. I'm not quite sure that's the look that I want to go for yet, but it is an option. So I'll just have to start figuring out. It would be easier to do the boards because I could just screw them right to the beams. And not that I couldn't do it with the metal, but I don't want to cut the metal sheets, whereas I could use scrap lumber and just do, vertical boards and go the whole length, which would be actually pretty convenient. So I might do that, and I think that would actually look pretty good. The only downside I can think right now is that when we're up here, I wouldn't be able to see straight through to the chickens, especially on the end sides, because that beam is higher than this middle area. But it would really help me keep the barn clean, and it might keep them a little bit warmer in the winter because the wood will keep in the heat, whereas more wind will go through the hardware cloth. So I am actually really glad that I thought about that. So, and it will actually make my life easier. So I'm going to call that a win-win. That's about all I'm going to think about it right now, though, because I got to get this second window done, and then I will I'll probably put in more hay and complete the bedding, and then I'll frame in the front, because it doesn't make sense to frame it in and then have to move a bunch of bales in there through the little door that I'm going to be making. So I think I will go ahead and work on this second door before, my measurements fade from my arm.
So for all the hardware I've used for this project, I have only used things that I have collected from taking that buckwheat storage area down. You can see me get in that blue bucket on the left quite a bit. And those are all the screws and nails that I removed from taking that building down. I haven't had to buy anything for this project, and all the hardware cloth was also from that storage area.
Okay, so that one went much better. Having a little bit extra room was made a big difference. So I've already got that installed, and it's pretty square this time. You can still see at the top gap, there's a little bit less on the right than the left, but whatever. You can see the cows back there lounging. Okay, so I'm back at it today, and what I'm going to be working on is doing the bottom boards. And so I'm going to do this section first. Okay, so I was kind of on a roll. I thought I was going to do the bottom first, and you can see I put the bottom board there. But then, I don't know if you can see it through light, you can see where it overlaps a little bit right there, and then right there. But I got the hardware cloth up on this section. So I was in there and I was thinking, well, I was going to do the bottom first, but it actually made more sense to do the hardware cloth first because on this beam it overlaps. Let me show you. So it overlaps, and I was thinking it would make more sense to do the hardware cloth first. So then I could, when I put the boards on the bottom, it will overlap the hardware cloth and secure it more that way than meeting it kind of the board and then the hardware cloth on top of that. So you can see here I secured the hardware cloth to the beam, and so what will happen now is when I put the board here, it will secure the hardware cloth as well, and then I'll just screw it to the, I'll screw the board to the bottom here. So I thought that was just going to be easier than what I was originally thinking was just having the board come up to about here, and then having the hardware cloth start above here, and then doing a board over top of that. But that's kind of silly because I could just put the hardware cloth first and then put the boards for the bottom just like up to here or even higher up to here, make it flush. And then I wouldn't need a second board to secure the hardware cloth. So I'm trying not to spend a lot of money on this project, and I'm out of staples. So what I used was I had these, they're small. Let's see, they are 3/4 inch poultry staples. So I had those, and I thought, well, let me just use those on the hardware cloth. And actually that worked out better than staples because they're more secure. They're small enough that it wasn't like, I've got some in my pocket here. It's not like I had, was trying to nail in like 2-inch poultry staples like these. But those ones were real small. And so that worked out really well, and it's going to be more secure anyway. So was very happy with that. So what I think I'll do now is I feel like I'm kind of on a roll with the hardware cloth. So I think I'm just going to do the top for all the sections first, and then I'll come back and I'll do the bottom. Okay, here it is. So I got the middle section done, and I also finished this section over here. I think it looks pretty good. A couple minor things I'm going to do later on, but now I need to figure out this last one, and this one is the one that needs to be a door so that I can actually get in and out of the coop. Okay, so I just wanted to give you guys a little update at the end of this video. So chickens are in the coop. Still have some things to do. I need to finish the gate right there so I can get in and out more easily. I just haven't had time to do it. They also still need a roost. And I temporarily put their old nesting box in here. So they kind of have a roost and they have nesting boxes, but I would like to get something different put in here at some point. I just haven't had time lately, so this is what it is right now, and it's functional and they're in here, so I'm calling it good. They seem to be enjoying it, so I also want to redo the lights. You can see I just strung a set here. I ordered a string of lights, and they're not as light or like as bright as I thought they were going to be, so I'm going to need to get more light in here. Their egg production has definitely dropped because it is darker in this area. than where I had them before. So I think I know what string light I'm going to get. I'm just going to probably get some of those construction string lights that are very bright. And so they'll end up with more light to help them get their egg production back up. It is pretty dark in here. They're not in an area that gets full sun anymore. So they don't have as much natural light, unfortunately. Let me swing you around slowly. So those two windows are on, let's see, east, west, on the north side. So that's the shade side. And then I can punch out another window here, and that will be, I'd say probably the east side. Or no, sorry, not east west. I'm trying to think which way our driveway lies. Our driveway runs east west, so that is on the west side, which will get some afternoon sun, but still not a lot of full sun, which is great for keeping them cool, but not great for getting them some natural light. So I'm going to need to put in some more light bulbs in this space. But so far so good. They've got their water in here. They've got food. They've got lots of bedding. Yeah, it's going pretty good. So thanks for watching this video. We'll give you some updates here soon. We'll probably switch to fencing. I need to get some fencing done this month. And we have an exciting new animal on the farm, which will be the next video. Thanks for joining me. Bye.